What's the haps? I'm John, aka Meroka, and welcome to Spiel. We are in Dark Skull Gate this week. Dark Skull, I'm not actually sure what it's supposed to be. Looking at the gate map, it kind of falls into one of two things. I'm not rightly sure which it is. It's either slime or freeze, I'm not sure. If you look at the gate map, they're like all slime and freeze levels, so I'm not sure what it officially is classified as. It's one of the two, I presume, that whatever random generations have come into play has seen fit to provide with all of the same, either, you know, damage type or, you know, freeze type, or all of the same jelly type. You know, just accidentally through the random generation. 'Cause I guess that's plausible. I'm not aware that the Clockworks generates, you know, dual type levels where it's like, oh, this week we're going to have freeze and jelly. It would normally just be jelly or just freeze. But, you know, stranger things have happened. Much stranger things. So let's do some Spiral Knights news. Yeah! So, although this was mostly covered in the patch notes last week, because it was fairly noteworthy updates, so you should be up to speed with what is going down in the Clockworks at present. It is the Cataclysmic Confrontation, that is back upon us, that is a thing these days. So if you're in the market for cat hats are a thing. And there's new things, there are new shinies, there are now the cat armors as well that go with them. I'm obviously rocking my cat hat here, no, just as a cosmetic, I'm not actually gunning anything, so... actually, I do have my Polaris on me, I suppose I could benefit from it, but since it's only equipped as a costume, I wouldn't actually benefit from it, so... it is irrelevant. So yes, that's the thing. So yeah, if you want a coat to go with these, you can get them. They're rather nice. I do like the coats, they're just rather impractical to get. I hadn't quite delved into the actual nitty-gritty in the patch notes, and I feel like it's something that could probably stand to be addressed a little further, is that to acquire the coats requires quite a lot of resources. They require the 3 cat tribe fetishes like the hats do, so nothing terribly excessive there, but then... on top of that, you also need 6 whiskers, and at the time when I made the video I was like, oh, we're not sure how many whiskers you get. Someone said 10, but then they were a dirty rotten liar and it was not 10. So you do not get 10 whiskers from one Margrel, otherwise that would be quite reasonable and fair, and you could get a few items out of one boss run. No, it turns out you get 1 whisker from one Margrel. So you need 6 whiskers to make 1 coat. So yeah, if you really particularly want to make one of the coats, you're going to have to fight Margrel 6 times, which means you're going to need 6 of the books. And the books are like a less than 1% drop chance from an enemy which already has only a 1% spawn chance. It's a pretty rare item, so you're going to need to kill, that's, I guess, well, 1% times 1% is 1 in 10,000 cats? Is that the right... am I doing the numbers right there? It must be, yeah. So 1 in 10,000 cats, that's like spook cats, not black cats. 1 in 10,000 spook cats will provide you with a book. So you're going to need to kill, if you were determined to do this solo, or as a group, between friends, between you, you're going to need to go forth and kill 60,000 spook cats before you will eventually end up with enough books to make whiskers. To make 1 coat. That's kind of a lot of spook cats, I'll be honest. That's rather a high number. So it's a little bit impractical and implausible to get, and I've seen a lot of people taking advantage of this, like, oh, I've got a book, who wants to buy into my group? It's only 250,000 crowns. That was the last time I checked, it might have gone up since then. And I have not particularly bought into this event just because the barrier to entry at this point is ludicrously high. So yeah, a lot of people who want that kind of thing seem to be buying into it with money, buying places in groups, and they're charging... Last Wednesday, when the update went live, I saw people charging $250,000 just for 1 slot in the group, and presumably they will charge for up to 3 slots. So you could, if you get a book, you can make $750,000 out of it, plus get yourself a nice hat to boot, and a whisker to make other things as well. So you could stand to turn tidy profit if you got one of them, although I guess the books themselves already retailed for more money than that. If you're not too bothered about the hat, you could make even more money than the 750,000. But if you want yourself a Black Cat cowl and a rather hefty chunk of money, people would pay very, very good money, it would seem, for a place in one of the groups. And that means that if you're looking for all 6 whiskers, you'd be looking at paying 1.5 mil. I ain't got that kind of money. I'm not having one of these coats. And then there are 4 coats to get, by the way, so I think this is one of those things where Three Rings is just like, look, this is a very, very prestigious item. In a lot of other cases, there's been, you know, think about, like, the, ooh, bonus thing, boop, yeah, nice. If you think about stuff like the Apocrian weapons, there were 3 weapons to get, and then they added some extra cosmetics as well, and the cosmetics cost, like, if I recall correctly, it was like twice as much as getting all of the weapons combined. It's like, yeah, these are prestigious items. They're totally doable if you grind for them a long time. It's only for the most dedicated people. And it seems like with the coats, it's like, we're not expecting, we're not even intending anybody to get all of the coats, because that's insane. We're expecting it to be a monumental achievement even just to get 1 coat. If you have one of these coats, this is going to be very much a mark of prestige within the community. And I guess that's cool, but I don't know, it's just kind of, I don't like the inaccessibility of it compared to everything else. And I don't see any inherent problem with it. If you're willing to put the effort in, you can get it. So there's nothing inherently wrong with it, but at the same time, it's just that everything else in the game has been comparatively reasonably accessible. It's just one of the least accessible items to date. Overcharged Mixmaster notwithstanding, because that's obviously an entirely different matter. But there you go. So that's the new coats, and I'm not going to end up wearing one because they're too rich for my blood, and I mean, honestly, like I say, it's about 60,000 cats probably you're likely to need to kill to actually get there. Am I wearing the right gear for this? It's all jellies, isn't it? So yeah, probably. So yeah, if you think about how often the books drop, I mean, how many people do you know who have ever found a book? If you found one yourself, have you found more than one? Very few people will have. There's some people who've been grinding all of since the first event who have never seen a book. I have taken part in 2 of the events so far. I have never seen a book. I'm probably not as dedicated as some, but the only person I probably do know a few people who have the Black Cat Cowl, which by extension means they probably found a book, but the only person I can think of off the top of my head who went and got a book and then we ended up making the video was Greenlink. Greenlink picked up a book and then we fought Margle and I did a video last time around. And that's the only time I've ever seen Margle. And it's the only time I'm aware of anybody I know seen Margle that I can think of off the top of my head. I don't know anyone else who wanders around in a Black Cat Cowl, so I can't think of anyone else. But there you go, yeah, it's like in 3 events I've seen Margle once. And they expect me to find it 6 times now? What? That's just not going to happen, really. That's not practical. I don't know how they expect that to happen. Maybe it's the sort of thing where like, well, maybe over the course of the next 3 events somebody will get a coat, but the way these things go down is they tend to add new things, so 3 events down the line, hopefully there'll be even more Black Cat things to find, and, you know, you won't be focusing on getting the coats because there'll be other stuff to think about. Because they've been trying to keep it at least slightly fresh. So yeah, that's the trouble with it. When you see something new, you usually kind of have to go for it, because next time it comes around, they're gonna change the goalposts again and say, hey look, more shinies to grind for, go grind for them as well. So that's the trouble. Anyway, that's enough about that. Let us mention the Patreon series. For people who support me over on Patreon, there is a extra bonus series. I should stress that it is a bonus series. This does not detract from the content you will see on a daily basis. There did seem to be perhaps some kind of confusion over that last week. I will be making an extra video only available to people who support me on Patreon. So I would say thank you for people who want to see my channel succeed and are willing to put some money in to help me succeed, because that's wonderful. So, the Secret of Monkey Island Special Edition, as narrated by me, is what you will get at present if you go support me on Patreon. You will get exclusive access to that nobody else gets. And I'm stuck. Crud. Let me out. Oh no. How do I get out of this? Can I do this? Does that kind of work? That does kind of work. Okay. Let's back off. Did not want that. I have Polaris. Why don't I just do this? There we go. That'll... Whoa, that was a little close. I didn't think that was going to hit me. Well, it didn't hit me, but it was close. Let's... Oh, I just used my cat power, so I can't use a heart attack. I was going to heart attack it. Damn it. Useless. Let's get rid of one of those. And pick up that, because I might need that. So yes, if you want to go see Monkey Island as narrated by me, that is an option for you for a mere $1. $1 of your money is all that will take. And then there is also an interesting note. I did a review on Monday of a game called Magic Maker, which is kind of fun. For some reason that video has done wildly more successful than any of my other videos to date for the time span. It's... You know there's a thing on YouTube where if a video does particularly well very early on, it kind of goes to that state where it's 301 plus. If you get 301 views in a short period of time, it stops counting them briefly before it does. There's a kind of a weird mechanic changeover. It's like up to 300 views... It counts every view. It's like, okay, this is fine. All of these views count. If you click on the video, bam, the number goes up by 1. Simple as. Then beyond 300, it sort of analyzes the clicks and watch rates and traffic sources and things, and I think it kind of does some fancy Google algorithm stuff that says, okay, this view counts, but for whatever arbitrary reason that we've decided, this one doesn't, and it sort of... This is why view count's slow to update on any successful video that's over 300. It sort of analyzes the views in batches and decides whether they count or not. So, yeah, that video went to 301 plus, which was really cool. I think that may be the first time that's ever happened for me, so that's awesome. I don't know why that happened though. But, because normally my reviews are not my most popular videos. Normally my most popular videos are Spiral Spiel or any other Spiral Knights content. And the reviews usually get, I don't know, 40, 50 views maybe? This got 300 in the same space it would normally get 40, 50 views, which is crazy sauce. It really is. So, the problem with the Google Analytics or YouTube Analytics, whatever, same company, is that it takes 3 days to update them. So after the video goes live, it's 3 days before you can even find out where any of the traffic sources come from. And I'm really intrigued to know where the hell 300, indeed at this point nearly 400 views have come from in, like, less than 48 hours. So that just doesn't happen for me. I mean, actually, last time one of my videos blew up weirdly popularly is actually it was used as the promotional video, the trailer, the official trailer on a Polish piracy site. There was like, here's an illegal download to this game, and here's the official trailer so that you can see what the game's all about. And they just linked my review, and it's like, that's not a trailer, and that's really, really weird. Especially as this is a Polish site, and my review is not in Polish. What on earth? What the heck? That's bizarre as anything, but it could be that again. I don't know. When I searched for it, I couldn't find a whole lot of reviews on Magic Maker, so... In spite of it being a Steam game, so you'd have thought it would have seen a little bit more press than that. Most Steam games usually tend to see some kind of press. So maybe just like mine was the only video they could find. I don't know. Could be. Not going to rule out the possibility. No, that's just intriguing stuffs in my world. Probably not terribly interesting to you, I suspect, but intriguing to me nonetheless. Let's do a few user-submitted questiones, because that is why we're here. I've got a few from the last couple of weeks, and if you want your questions read out and your name getting a little bit of a minor shout-out in the video, then it's one of these rooms that we're going to blitz through and try and skip over. If these spikes will go away, let's do that. If you want your name read out in the Spiral Spiel and your question answered, ask me a question, post it in the comments below. Think of anything. I don't know. Anything random. I know some people are like, oh, I can't think of any questions. Can you give me a shout out anyway? Nope. I'm not giving you a shout out unless you ask me a question. Just think of anything. I'm really not that fussed what you ask me. I mean, if it's really, you know, controversial, I might give it a skip, or something that I'm just not well versed to talk about, I might give it a miss, but anything general I'll probably try and cover sooner or later. I do try to cover as much stuff as I can. Anyway, Captain Walken, who's been around for a while, asks, while the treasure vault is a very welcome sight in Arcade Run, how useful is the loot pull on average? For example, on the lowest levels of the Clockworks, they tend to have a lot of crates, but I often wonder if the loot is actually all that amazing in comparison with other levels, or if it is just awesome because there is a much lower risk-reward ratio. You can actually check that out on the wiki, to be quite honest. It's actually, no, in terms of money, it's not that great. They tend to come on the same... There tends to be the same few options on the same floors. When you find a treasure vault, there's usually an option for a graveyard as well as, I think, is a candlestick keep? I don't know, there's a few different things that you can get on one of those as an option on those floors. And the graveyard is by far the best for money, just because there are so many zombies and they all drop a reasonable amount of money, and you can just go around and just gather up crowds on crowds on crowds of zombies and just farm them for all they're worth, and you end up with a lot of money. If you're in the market for crowns, look for graveyards. However, as you say, yep, lot of boxes, and boxes are the only way you're going to get rarities. So if you're in the market for rarities, if you're wanting some orbs or some fire crystals or what have you, you know, sparks of life maybe, the sort of things that you can only get in boxes, well, actually your treasure rooms are probably going to be better than your standard levels in that regard, just because they got more boxes. Simple enough. So yeah, that's the thing. If you want crowns, look for graveyards. Oh, and indeed arenas. Arenas are obviously very good for that as well, even if they are a little bit more challenging. And if you want shinies, yeah, treasure vaults are a pretty good way to find shinies. Why did I walk right onto those spikes? Because I am an imbecile. Another spirally nighty question. Let's read it before we kick things off here. When Sega All-Stars Racing was released, I sort of hoped they would include a Spiral Knight as a playable character, seeing as Sega kind of owns at least part of Spiral Knights. They are the publisher, I guess they do own it. I don't know actually, publishers don't necessarily always own Spiral Knights, but Spiral Knights don't always own games. So, for example, Activision publish Destiny, but they don't own Bungie, so they don't own Destiny. But that's just an example, yeah. So I don't know whether Sega owns Spiral Knights or if they just publish it. That's you have to do a bit of digging to find that one out. I'm not quite sure who strictly owns the IP. You'd think they'd put them in that sort of game, considering how very short for characters they often seem to be to go to other franchises for characters. Do you think Sega would ever insert a Spiral Knight character into one of these games? And do you think it would benefit both, say, Spiral Knights and Sega to do so? I think it would probably be pretty good for Spiral Knights. Whether it would do much for Sega, I don't know. I mean, I guess it would get Spiral Knights players to buy their game, but compared to the entire Sega, you know, game franchise IP library, whatever it is, I suspect Spiral Knights makes up a relatively minor part of that, if I'm quite honest. I don't think this is, you know, a major string in Sega's bow. I have my Polaris. Why am I not just using the frickin' Polaris? What the hell? Right, see, we can just do this. Bam, bam, bam. Cats. Please explode, cats. Why am I throwing the things when I can just explode the cats like this? See, that was easy. Boom, boom, boom. All die. And your turn now. So yeah, that kind of game, Sega, it does seem one of the least well-suited to make that kind of all-stars game when they don't have a whole lot of stuff. I mean, they do tend to pick from a lot of niche games that they've got a bit of a cult following, stuff like your Nights into Dreams and Samba de Amigo. I mean, they've kind of got, they do have their fan bases, but at the same time, they were games that they made like once on the Dreamcast and have never been particularly seen again, and it's not Sonic, let's be honest. It's just kind of something else. Sega was like, what have we got? Well, we got that game. That was kind of popular. Let's play that. Let's put that in the game. And the people who played those games are like, ooh, that game. I remember that one. I will buy that game. I don't think Sega... I don't think Spiral Knights, sorry. I don't think Spiral Knights quite has the pulling power they might want for that kind of thing. It'd be nice to see, and it probably would thematically fit with the game. But from a business standpoint, goddamn! From a business standpoint, I don't think it would make enough of a difference for it to be worthwhile. But at the same time, you know, with these kind of games, you often see kind of like padding characters. They just like, we need to make some numbers up. What have we got? Let's just use whatever. So that could be a thing. I mean, hell, in Smash Brothers, you often see. I mean, obviously, much more notable characters like Mario, but they often make an appearance like several times in Smash Bros. Which one was the GameCube one? The one that I played? Melee, was it? Yeah, Smash Brothers Melee. Yeah, that had Mario in the game twice as two different characters. It's like, yeah, really? You couldn't have got at least some other character there? Seriously? Oh, no, come on, over here. Come past the barrier so I can kill you. Take your loot and move on. Yeah, moving on down. So yeah, it'd be nice to see that kind of thing. I don't think it's gonna happen. Felix Mageski? I think you pronounced that. Felix Mageski asks, what do you think about... This is all Spiral Knights questions this week, goddamn. What do you think about maybe customizable housing for your knight? Give a use for furnishing that isn't for a guild hall? What about a vault or something? Do you think there should be vehicles? Customizable, of course, where they get their own levels and speed transfer. Pets like Wolvers. What about factions? Like you can side with Vanaduke or with mercenaries that work for the Jelly Monarchy and Vanaduke and Spiral HQ. You're talking about a complete overhaul to the game. I mean, if you're talking about factions, you're going down the route of something like World of Warcraft or WildStar. I bring up the factions just because that's actually a relevant point to game design that's as I picked up on in recent times with WildStar. The other stuff I'll get onto in a moment, but with factions, that's interesting because basically what you're doing there is you're splitting the player base. If you say, okay, everybody has, even if you just don't have the two factions, you know, your Alliance and Horde, your Exile and Dominion, whatever the game is, you're basically still saying, okay, all the players of this game, we now have to we need to differentiate them into two different camps, and they both get separate content. So we now need to make twice as much content just to cover the entire player base. So for every mission that the Alliance gets, the Horde also needs an equivalent mission. For every Alliance that the Exiles get, the Dominions need an equivalent mission. If we then say Spiral Knights is divided into, I don't know, what do you divide them? The Spiral Order and the Crimson Order, I guess? If you, I don't know, half the Knights defect and go work for the Gremlins or something? I don't know. Either way, whatever, you've got two factions, and, well, now you've got to make twice the content because you need a different set of missions for the second faction, which is a dramatic factor in game design, and I think that's probably why a considerable amount of MMOs probably don't bother with the whole faction thing, just because it's just doubling their workload as far as level design goes. For not a whole lot of gain other than basically faction-based PvP. And I don't know, it depends if that's the route you want to go down. If you want to tie faction-based stuff very, you know, elaborately into the story, cool, go down that route, but just bear in mind that it's going to create a lot of work. And it's not necessarily going to benefit you any more than just having a single faction would. You know? Everybody gets one set of missions, one set of content, and it works perfectly fine instead of having to design two, because the players are only going to see one of those sides anyway. If you play through all the Alliance story missions, you've seen a bunch of story missions. You get to the end of the game, that's it. You play Horde, you go through, you do a bunch of story missions, you get to the end, that's it. You go through the Spiral Order, and you get to the end of the game. You've seen a bunch of story missions, that's it. It doesn't matter which one you do. Pick a faction in any game. I mean, yeah, I suppose there's a little bit of replayability, but often the missions don't differentiate themselves that dramatically. I have played Alliance and I have played Horde in World of Warcraft, so I've seen the story missions. They really aren't all that different. You don't get a dramatically, overwhelmingly different experience by playing the other faction, unless the developers went to great lengths to make them really distinct, and they often don't, because that's just, again, extra costs that often you just don't get in game development, because it's already expensive, especially with big titles like WildStar or World of Warcraft. It's pretty expensive to make that kind of thing, I imagine. So yeah, you can't really afford to just do two wildly different contents that different people are going to see. And with a little team like 3 Rings on a much more limited budget, that's just absolutely not practical. I don't think that would ever happen. As far as cosmetics and customization go, it's good from an economic standpoint of a good sort of currency sink. If you're wanting to sort of balance the economy a bit, which is actually half the reason the guild halls were invented in the first place. I think was to give players a place to dump crowns. Otherwise, the energy costs kind of got a bit out of whack. So yeah, there was that. How far am I? I feel like I'm burning through these fairly quickly. I might be getting towards the end here. Can't remember how many floors I've done. So yeah, I mean, if 3 Rings decided, yeah, we need to take more crowns out of the economy, they'd likely go down something like that. Mounts kind of work better in an open world where you need to get from one side of the world to the other fast. I can't see a real requirement for any kind of mount in Spiral Knights, just because you're either in the central hub or you're doing a mission. There's no in between. There's no, oh, I need to get to the other side of the world in order to get to that mission to do it. It's no, I go through an interface, I click a button, and the mission starts. That's it. There's no real call for mounts. It might be nice from just a fun toy kind of perspective, just to cruise around Haven on a mount, but honestly, it wouldn't serve any real functional purpose. You wouldn't be hindered in any real way by not having one. Let's put it that way. Which again makes it perhaps more of a prestige kind of item, sort of thing that players might have, just go, ooh, look at me, I have a mount, la 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 la, check out my mount. Which, yeah, people like that, so maybe that's a good enough reason to put it in. Pets as well, same kind of deal. I mean, what does it actually add to the game? It's a crown sink. If they wanted to do that, sure. I mean, we already have kind of a pet floating around behind us. It might just get a bit confusing having to anyway. Plus, you can also get the pocket pets, the things that you wear on your front, which are kind of a pet as well. So they're already kind of in the game, and they are already crown sinks in their own right. So, functionally speaking, anything that adding a pet might achieve has already been achieved in both 2 ways in pets-like things in the game already. So I can't see those things being particularly a thing that would be likely to occur. And yeah, as sort of personal housing, that's a thing that's the thing they do push in WildStar. That is very much a WildStar thing at the minute. They have everyone gets their own house and you get to buy furniture and decorate, and that's a big crown sink as well. It's not crowns, but currency sink. Sorry. So yeah, that's a thing. Oh, we are actually at the terminal. Holy Moses! I've been through that relatively fast today then. It's nice. I can't say I particularly buy into it too much. The way WildStar does it is if you spend some time buying expensive things for your house, your house gets fancier and you get extra XP next time you play the game. If you log out whilst you're in your house, you get rested XP so that you level up faster. So there's an incentive whilst you're leveling to work on your house. And I think a lot of people do a lot of fun stuff with them. They build like level courses and stuff, like jumping puzzles and whatnot. Personally, I'm not really that into the housing thing, but I understand people do like that, so given that they've already got kind of the core of the mechanic in the game with the guild halls, I actually, of all the things there, that's probably the most viable and most reasonable, and it's a thing that people might actually quite like. That's probably a thing people could go for. At any rate, we shall call it there for now. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, as I always say, go check out my Patreon campaign, which will be linked in the outro in just a moment. And I had something else to say. Oh, yes, I totally forgot. Steam. This is something I meant to talk about. Steam curation. Let's throw that away while we talk for a moment. Steam has unveiled a new feature, which is curation, which means content creators and noteworthy personalities that you appreciate the perspectives and opinions of can now curate lists of games on Steam. And they will give you their recommendations. Anything they say, yep, this is worth buying, it will go onto a big list, and they've overhauled this store page and stuff so that the recommendations are done differently and stuff. And curation is a big part of that, so people can become trendsetters, tastemakers, kind of the phrases I've been seeing bandied around. And that's actually a pretty cool feature. I quite like that a lot. I have set up the The way it's done is through the Steam groups. I've set up the Button Mash group as a curator, so I will be doing that through that. So I will put a link to my curation page below, and if you want a nice, concise, compiled list of all my video reviews that have been generally fairly positive and said, yep, this is a pretty cool game, you should check this out, that's there. I'm not going to list all my reviews on there because it's obviously intended to be recommendations, so anything that I'm a bit kind of meh on, I'm like, this isn't that great, I probably won't list on there because that's kind of not how the system works, but anything that I do think is good and you want to know that I think is good is on there. So if you want to follow me on that, that would be much appreciated. That'd be cool, because someday then maybe I can compete with the likes of Total Biscuit. So there's that as well. At any rate, that'll just about do it. So as I say, I'll put that link in the description below, so go check that out and you can see what I recommend on Steam. It also has links to all the videos that go with it, because it only gives you 150 characters to do a review, which is not enough to do a review. This feature is very much intended for journalists and YouTubers and whatnot. It's that kind of thing. But there you go. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I have been Meroka. This has been Spiel. Do not forget to leave your questions in the comments below. I'll see you next time.